Spark Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, Simona Spark, and our mission is to build a future where no one needs to come out anymore. Together, we can create a world where everyone has the right to love, to succeed, to have a family, and to live a full, happy life. Our guest today is Rebecca. Welcome and thank you for accepting my invitation.
That's okay, you're more than welcome.
Let's start with telling us where you're from, what do you do, and what are you identify as?
Yes, I am from Melbourne in Australia. I'm actually from Sydney originally, and I moved to Melbourne a couple of years ago, but I lived in the UK for like years and years and years as well. But I moved to Melbourne maybe like 4 years ago, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's been really, really great. So here I do a bunch of different things. So I actually work in employment services. I'm an access coordinator supporting people in the LGBTI QA+ community to get into work. I also do stuff on the radio. So I have a program called The Gender Agenda on Joy 94.9, which is the LGBTI QA+ radio station here in Melbourne. But you can listen to it on a podcast, or you can listen across the country or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
And I also do acting as well. So I'm studying to be an actor on top of all of that. So I'm a very, very busy woman.
I'll say.
Yes, and I'm always doing a lot of different things. And I also identify as I'm a woman of transgender experience. So I was assigned male at birth, but in my late teens, I transitioned to the fabulous woman I am now.
You are fabulous, and you sound like you're a superwoman. Do you have more than 24 hours in one day? How do you do all that?
I wish I did. I feel like I should, but I don't. I like to, someone that likes to keep busy. I like to push myself. I always try to better myself as a person. I don't feel that you kind of get to a point in life where you are completely satisfied, and I feel like you can be content, but you can always aim to achieve more.
Yeah.
I'm definitely content with my life, but I definitely want to achieve more as well.
Yes. I love that. We get to want to achieve more. And it's not even a matter of getting better because we already enough as we are, but we get to choose to keep growing and expanding.
Yeah, definitely. And I've always kind of had that mindset. I've always had that way of being that, you have to kind of be comfortable in your own skin, but you can push to achieve more in your own life.
How did you get to that mindset?
I think because I transitioned in my late teens, I was like anyone else. I was an awkward teenager. I had insecurities. And it's probably not been until I've gotten into my 30s that I've really kind of gone, you know what, this is who I am. I'm really proud of who I am. I really embraced myself as a trans woman.
Right.
And, without labels as well. Like, I hate labels. Labels are so stupid.
Right.
And people are just people, really. Right. Like, everyone's the same. Everyone bleeds the same. Everyone breathes the same. We're all the same, really, and It shouldn't matter, what your gender identity is, what your sexuality is, where you grew up,
right.
What your religion is, anything like that. It shouldn't really matter. And unfortunately, it does for a lot of people. But for me personally, it doesn't at all. And I think I feel kind of relieved that I don't think or feel that way about other people. And I like to hope that people respond to me respectively the same way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's our mission here. With every story that is shared, to encourage and inspire, especially the youth, just to let them know that they have options. Regardless of the gender identity, you do have access to life.
Yeah, it's definitely true. And I think for me growing up, I didn't really have a lot of positive role models. I didn't see a lot of trans representation. And I wouldn't say just in the media, but just in society and life. And I don't think, not every trans person wants to grow up to be famous and to be in the media. They just want to see a true representation of themselves in the community, doing things that everyone else does. Because I think that a lot of trans people, they kind of feel restricted because of who they are. And I feel that they think because of who they are, they can't achieve what they want to achieve. But it's not true. You can do whatever you want to do, really. It's just about pushing yourself and having that mindset and making sure that you're surrounded by supportive people to assist you to get to where you need to be. I mean, the trans community deal with a lot of stigma and discrimination and all those sorts of things. We have a lot of things against us, but as a community and as individuals, we can definitely support each other to achieve great things, for sure.
Absolutely. I love that mindset. And talking about growing up, when did you realize that you are different than how people see you?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Well, when I was quite young, I was probably about 5, I would say, and I wasn't like other little boys at all. I was very feminine. I liked girly things. I was obsessed with Barbie dolls. I had girlfriends. I had this Cabbage Patch doll that I've still got to this day that I've had my whole life. And I was just kind of really drawn to the feminine aspects of life. And I think that is something that I kind of realized that at that age, as a little boy, not all little boys should be doing what I was doing, especially in the 80s when I grew up in a country town in rural Australia. And it felt normal to me then. But as I got older, I realized that I probably, inverted brackets, shouldn't be behaving that way because that's not how boys behave. And I think I had a lot of resistance from probably my family and also schools and things like that growing up. So I kind of suppressed those feelings for a while I was in school because I knew that to get through school, I couldn't express myself the way that I wanted to. And then I moved to Sydney when I was 16 or 17 and, going to the big city and starting work and doing all these things. And it was really kind of then that I was introduced to different types of people, different people in the LGBTIQA plus community, and realizing that, you can be different and you can still be happy. And it was kind of then that was when I flourished and just went bang. And then I started seeing specialists to support me through my transition, so GPs and psychologists. And there's an amazing service in Sydney called the Gender Centre, which has been around forever. It was founded by this amazing trans woman named Roberta Perkins, and the Gender Centre is like the kind of go-to place for people that are kind of questioning their gender identity and need that support. And that was the first place I went to as a young person, and they referred me on to psychologists, a GP, and also an endocrinologist, who I still see to this day, who's still in Sydney. And I've always kind of had those, medical supports that I've needed in place from a very early stage. So I was quite fortunate to be able to be given those opportunities, because not all trans people are fortunate enough to be linked in with those services, and things can be a lot more challenging for them. Yeah.
So you suppress your identity just to get you through school, and then when you courageously move into a bigger city and met people like you that behave like you, that kind of give you the permission to be yourself.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, I'm very lucky. One of my brothers is gay, and so he's always kind of been my backbone and supported me a lot through my life. So having, a gay sibling that's kind of held my hand the whole way through everything has been amazing. And he was there for me when I had to go through things like surgery and just morally, and he still supports me now. And yeah, I'm really lucky to have my brother, and he's really great. I mean, my whole family is great, but my brother and I have a very unique, special bond because of our gender identity and sexualities.
That's so great. I'm so happy for you, for both of you. What about your relationship with your parents? What was the dynamic in your transition process?
That was hard. When I first kind of knew that I wanted to transition and to become the woman that I knew I was, I decided that I wouldn't tell my parents at first, and I was almost leading a double life initially when I was in the early stages. So I'd be like going to work as a woman and dressing up as a woman at the evenings and all that sort of thing. But when I'd see my parents, I'd put all my hair into a baseball cap. And it was very unhealthy mentally to be doing that. It was really, really difficult. So I moved to London when I was 21, and it was there that I kind of got a chance to flourish. I didn't have any restrictions around hiding who I was. My brother was living there as well, so I had that support there. And I lived there for about 5 years, and so I really distanced myself from my family geographically and I guess emotionally. And it wasn't until later in my 20s when I had to come back for my eldest brother's wedding that I saw my parents again for the first time in like 4 or 5 years. And so I left the country in their eyes as one gender and came back as another.
Oh, wow. So you just came back home as a woman and they did not know about it?
No. They started seeing photos and things, but they hadn't seen me in person.
Wow. How that went?
And so when I came back, it was my brother's wedding. That was kind of the first kind of confrontation or, I guess, communication with my parents. And it was hard. It was hard for them and it was hard for me. And it took a while for things to kind of settle. And it took a while for them to kind of come around. And it's probably only been, I would say, the last maybe 5 years or so that they've really kind of settled into who I am. My mum's amazing. I'm the little girl she never had. So it's really nice to be, spoiled by her and to do, girly things with her, which I paint her toenails for her and do fun things like that. And my dad's accepted me in his own way, I guess. I think it's hard for my dad, and I think also for the generation that he grew up in and from the person that he is, that he has accepted me in the best way he can. He struggles sometimes with things like pronouns and my chosen name, but he calls me a nickname that I had when I was a kid. So in his own way, he's accepting, and their door's always open for me, so I know that, and I know they love me, so I'm very lucky to have parents who love me. And I know they've loved me the whole time, but I kind of really feel like I have a good relationship with them now.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. In my coaching practice, I do a lot of work around identity, especially when one's identity change, it's impacting every family member's identity as well. How did your family experience those changes?
I think they had to let go of who I was. They really had to let go of the idea of what they thought my life was going to be. So I think in their mind, I was potentially going to get married, which I still can if I want to, but they, potentially going to get married to a woman and have kids and all that stuff. And I didn't do any of that stuff. And I think it took them a while I think they had to grieve that. I think they had to let go of what their idea of what that was for me and then go, okay, this is who you are now. And, they see that I'm working. They see that I'm in a happy relationship. They see that, I'm thriving in life because I'm happy in the person that I am. So I think that's really kind of, it's changed their perspective on how they view me, but also how they view themselves as parents, I think.
So seeing you happy really helped them to shift their perspective.
I think for my parents to see that I'm happy, and especially my mum, I think she can see it in my eyes, and I think she can see the difference between who I am now and the happiness in my soul. And prior to me being who I am now and prior to coming out and transitioning and all those things, I think she would have seen a very sad person. And I think that would have been hard for her. I think the struggle for her seeing the sadness that I had from not being happy would be much more challenging than her having to let go of what her idea of who I was going to be was.
Right. As parents, we create this story about how our child life is going to look like. But I really want to believe that all the parent want is for that child to be happy.
Yeah, and it's funny because when people have babies, they say, I just want my baby to be happy and healthy. But then once their child starts doing things that are different from what their parents want them to be doing or how they envision that, they really have to start to let go of what their ideal of what their child's life will be like.
Yes, and let go is key because it allows that child to grow into becoming who they're supposed to be and not who you want them to be.
Yeah.
So we learn about the dynamic of relationship with your parents and about the special relationship that you have with one of your brothers, and he was there for you through your transition. Do you mind sharing how this was impacting the relationship that you have with the other brother?
Yeah, no, my other brother's great. He's heterosexual and he's married and he's got kids and all, but he's a very soft person. He's very gentle and he's always been really, really supportive of me. He's always been a huge fan, and so I'm lucky to have him as well. So I'm really, really lucky with both my brothers. They're both amazing in different ways. And lucky to have each other. And, I know they're proud of me and I know they're proud of the person I've become. And I'm proud of them too. So I'm really lucky in that sense.
That's so good to hear. It's good to hear that it's possible to be loved and be supported. I love a good positive story. Now, let's shift gear a little bit and talk about your work. And I want to ask you, does your gender identity play an essential role into your job?
Yeah, so it's interesting. With my job, it's one of the first places that I've kind of been open about my gender identity. And because of what I do for work, it's really helpful for the people that I support, because they might not be always in the best place, and it's good to be a role model for other people that are struggling and that aren't quite there yet, and that need a bit of a helping hand to get to where they want to be. And it's really rewarding for me to be able to do that, to support other people. And I think as well, from being open about who I am at work, it's kind of spilled out into my life in general. And I realized how much happier I was in other areas of my life because I could be authentic at work. Yeah.
I love it. So powerful. You show up fully, nothing held back, nothing in a hiding, and then you bring that energy in all areas of your life.
Yeah, it's all on the table.
Wonderful. Now, Rebecca, I want to ask you, what will be one piece of wisdom that you will share for someone that just realize they are transgender and they don't know what to do?
Yeah, I think probably the key thing, especially in it's almost the year 2020, and I think it's really important for young trans and gender diverse youth to realise that there's a lot of really amazing services and support groups and organisations and mentors, and there's like a whole community of trans and gender diverse people that are doing amazing things in different areas, whether it be activism, whether it be medical services, whether it be community services. There's almost something for everyone. And even in rural areas, you can, the beauty of the internet is that you can access anything online realistically.
Yes.
I mean, there's lots to the internet, definitely, but you can also access a lot of great things on the internet as well. And I think it's really important for young people to know that. One thing as well is I would always say to young people as well is to listen to really good music, listen to upbeat music, listen to fun music. I remember one thing that when I was young and when I was going through early stages of transition and I was awkward and I kind of felt like I was going through puberty for the second time, I would always have headphones in, because I knew that if I was listening to happy, positive music, that I would feel good. So that's my key thing, that if you're young and you're having a bad day, to always listen to good music.
Yes, I love that. That's a great advice. And I want to also thank you again for being here today and sharing your story with us. And before we say goodbye, is it anything that you might want to add?
I just wanted to say thank you, firstly, for the opportunity for talking with you. I think it's really good to share knowledge and to share experiences and for people to hear other people's stories and to know they're not alone and, there are people like them and that you can be happy and you can be successful and to just enjoy life and to take each day as it comes, because each day truly is a blessing.
Yes, it is. What a great way to close our conversation here today. Thank you so much, Rebecca. It's been such a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to hearing the podcast when it comes out.
Thank you for tuning in to Redefine Family, a Spark Transformation podcast. Feel free to share your story, knowing that your story could change someone's life. We invite you to spread the love by sharing our message with others. And leave your comments at spark@redefinefamily.com. Until next time, remember that you are the spark in your life. Just shine bright.